Hello YouTube and welcome eaglets to the kingdom. I'm Royal Eagle. If you don't know who I am, I'm a variety streamer on Twitch and I do some YouTube stuff, not a lot, but some. And today I'm going to be talking about a new challenge that I will be working on called the Sims 4 Decades Challenge. And it's the ultimate gaming challenge because it's going to start in the 1300s and end hopefully in the 2020s. I got this challenge from Morbid Gamer, and she is a YouTuber and Twitch streamer as well. I'll have her links in the description below. So if you'd like to check her out or the challenge itself, check out her content. I will not be adding the link to the challenge. Actually, I think I will. I will add a link to the challenge in the description as well. But if you want the full challenge, go check out her stuff. She goes very much in depth about what the challenge is about. So check it out and try it yourself. But for us, we're going to be doing our own little decades challenge, starting with the Ford family. So, Morbid's Ultimate Decades Challenge. I'll be going over the rules. I will not be reading verbatim everything. I will read a lot of it, but just to kind of give you an overview of what to expect during this playthrough. As you can see here, this is the link that she has in her description. I'll just be copying the same links. And on the challenge itself is a link to Zombie Cleo, who is the original person who created the challenge from 1890 to 2010. Her spreadsheet, not mine, of her current playthrough and her live streams, which will be found on Twitch. The rules are subject to change. She is currently in the process of making the challenge. Right now she is in the 1500s, I think. I am not 100% sure, but check out her stuff on YouTube. So, as a side note here, this challenge was originally created by Zombie Cleo to get their Sims from 1890 to 2010 and play throughout history. How we'll be playing this challenge has been modified and designed so that you start in the 1300s England and make it all the way to current day America. The point of Morbid's Decades Challenge is to, of course, challenge yourself, but at the same time, live as historically accurate as possible and get your family's legacy to survive to modern times without dying out. So you can expect a lot of tough times, death, and heartache, but still fun times as well. I'm a huge history buff, so this challenge is perfect for me, and I've been super excited to play this, and I have most of the setups already done. So you can also explore different levels, like you can start wherever you want. I want to start in the 1300s because I love medieval times. Honestly, it is my favorite time period aside from the Revolutionary War. So there are trigger warnings because we're trying to stay as close to history as possible. There were pandemics, wars, and tragic events, including Sims dying, that include babies, infants now because of the new infant update, toddlers, and children. So if that doesn't appeal to you, I apologize. I hope you enjoy the next series you look for, but we're going to continue with these rules. Also, this challenge does not depict in any way, shape, or form my ideas or Morbid's about racism, homophobia, incest, slavery, genocide, sexism, and colonization. Guys, history happens. We're trying to stay as close to history as possible. And if you know your history, you know that it wasn't always great. So, keep that in mind while playing the challenge or watching this playthrough. So, this is going to be a very hands-on challenge, as she states here. I'm not going to go through everything, but we do have our Sims already prepared. We have 2 adult Sims who are not our founders. They're just the parents of the founders. And once we get in there, we'll be determining whether or not they live or die for the remainder of the playthrough. We begin in the 1300s. And every 4 days equals 1 year. So every day is 3 months, is essentially what that means. On day 1, we'll place our starter Sims, which we already have, in the largest lot available. And we'll be zeroing our money down to 0 before we start the playthrough. I have the house already set up. I have moved out every sim in all the worlds, so that way we don't get cross-played with other, like, modern-day sims. The only one I left in was Father Christmas because... Christmas, guys. After we place our heirs, everyone born after that will be an infant to start. And we have a little spreadsheet to kind of keep track of everybody. So we start on day 1, which is year 1300, and I already made a preliminary chart all the way up to 1330, just because you never know how long this series is going to last. I don't know if the Sims will stay, die, if we're going to have to switch households. Like, it's going to be chaotic, but it's going to be fun. As you can see here, we start off with our teen Sims, who are both 16. They're twins, Adela and Rue Ford. And they're children of Woodrow and Eofordhild. I know, right? It's the weirdest name. Who are adults. They're about 30. So, life is a little harder in medieval times, so they are starting off as peasants. And as you can see here, we'll be rolling to see whether or not the teens make it to adulthood. Hopefully they do. But because in 1300s, a lot of Sims married and gave birth young, so we do have a lot of mods in place for, like, Command Center mod, mods that allow teens to woohoo with other teens or older. I know, ill, trust me, I get it, the ick. But it is a history. And sometimes arranged marriages were with very young children to older adults. It happens, but I'll try to keep it as close to age as possible, so that way the ick factor is very much less. So we have the info chart, which is just kind of like a documentation of everything that's happening. So far, everyone's alive, yay. I did put in the years born as 1270, 1270, 1284, and 1284 because they are twins. They were born at the same year. And I just figured it'd be easier for math because I hate math, and, like, the less I have to math, the happier I am. So we have the gender, the status. Once they die, we'll switch the status of their lives and put in the year of death, the age they were when they died, and the life stage, and then also the cause of death. We have our family tree, which I was looking for a family tree app to do this with, but everything I have it's such a weird dynamic, and I don't want to reconfigure my computer too much because I don't want it to explode. So I made a kind of a rough draft of a family tree. So this is all we have right now. So we have Eofordhild and Woodrow are married, so they don't have any lines between them. Once Rue and Odella get married, we'll add on and so forth, and yada yada. You know how it goes. So it's very similar to what she has here. Morbid actually, in her notes and stuff, if you look at the little blue X's, she has a spreadsheet made up. I didn't know that when I made it, so I was just like, I made my own. And here we are. Tried my best. So every 4 days is a new year, and after placing your first, everyone born after that will be an infant to start, so they'll always start under the born section right here. And then we'll just kind of do the math from there. Trust me, math not my strong point, so this is going to be a kind of a challenge for me. I did turn off aging in The Sims because we have to age them up individually and roll dice on whether or not they live or die. We'll get there in just a second. I do have the seasons DLC as well, so the seasons are not going to be aligned with the years passing because obviously you can't do spring, summer, winter, fall. I did that wrong, but you know, whatever. Spring, summer, fall, winter in 4 days. The change is going to be crazy. I can't keep up with it, so we're just not even going to do that. We're just going to be like Game of Thrones, where endless summer to endless winter. That's basically what that's going to be. And as we keep going, we'll highlight every day that's passed, so you'll see a lot of me switching between gameplay and getting to the sheet so we can fix things. But I'll have the rules off to the side so I can always kind of look back and see what's happening. Again, here's the info chart. She does have another info chart to use if you prefer not to set one up yourself. I set one up myself because I didn't see that, so here we are. But we will be making up causes of death because obviously you can't shoot somebody in medieval time. I mean, I think you could, but like with a musket or something, I don't know. We're just gonna go with plagues, stillborn, wound infections, you know, stuff like that, just to kind of keep it with the times. Custom aging. So we did have aging auto aging off. And we have the master command thing so we can age them up when it's time. Pregnant Sims are pregnant for 3 days, so the baby is born at 0 days. And now with the new infancy update we did put that into the chart system. So you can see here, born, infancy, toddler, child, teen, young adult, adult, and elder. Oops. So babies only have to be 1 day, 3 months. Infants, 5 days, about 2 years. Year and a half, whatever. Toddlers, 18 days, ages up at 6 years old. Child, 28, teen, 28, young adult, 40, adult, 80, and an elder, 80. They usually die, depending on the time period. Nowadays, everyone could die around 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. But back then, life expectancy went up to like 40 at the most. So if you see your sim die at 40, that's not unexpected. It could be death of old age, just because, you know, life was hard back then. So here's another example of how the years go, what ages they'll be. Just keep track with the year it coincides with, and you can just kind of do the simple math from there. Here's the life expectancy percent chances. I'm not good with percentages, so if this is easier for you to intake, cool. I'm just gonna roll the dice and hope for the best. We do have a die roller here, and we have flip a coin here. So I have that all saved in a Sims folder. To get a little more realistic and do some population control, that's why we'll do the dice roll. And once you have a pregnant sim and they give birth, you roll to see if the mother makes it through labor. If they roll anything that's not a 1, they survive. They roll a 1, they died in childbirth. That's just how life works. Natural ones, am I right? Also, you roll, the baby is born. They're a little bit more in depth, but if you roll one of the numbers listed, they die. Usually stillborn. If you roll any other number, they make it. Yay! We do it before every age stage just to see what happens. Could be great, could be bad. I do have the mod children, toddlers can die of anything, so it'll make it a lot easier. The only thing that we can't do is kill a baby. And in order to do that is debug neglect, so they'll get taken away, and your Sims will be sad and emulate as though a baby passed away. It'll suck, but you know, that's just how life works. When you reach the end of life roll, you roll a d20 and see how many years are granted. So if you get to the end of life, then yay. If not, then oh man, that's sad. Here's some mods to use. I have MCCC. I tried Wicked Whims. didn't work. So I had to take that away. But you can use Wicked Whims or Wonderful Whims. Not. I'm gonna try to use Wonderful Whims. If not, then I'm just gonna do what I need to do. But as this is medieval times, there was no birth control. There was no safe sex, essentially. So you're just gonna have to try for a baby every single time. For people who are not heirs, because there will be side households. And it's good to have side households, because if your main household dies, then you have a second generation household to take over. They're only allotted a number of times that they're able to get pregnant. So anytime you chance one of them to get pregnant, you'll have to keep track of that somewhere and then, like, go from there. So, example, if your side household rolls 7 pregnancy attempts and your sim gives birth to triplets, then that only counts as 1 pregnancy, not 3. But if you try to get pregnant and you don't get pregnant, that still counts as an attempt. So keep track of what you're doing there. For the heirs, you have to try at least once a day for your heirs. Unless you just gave birth, then you have a full day of grace period before you try again. Because mama needs the break, right? Right. Heirs can have as many babies as you want, but only as many as they can produce. I don't want to make a bigger household size, so we're just going to stick with the 8 max and see where that goes. Here are the pregnancy chances, the rolls for baby attempts. If a side household rolls a 6, then they're not allowed to produce children, which would really suck for us. So when you start the challenge, you usually have 2 founder sims. We're starting with extra 2, so they're not technically our founders. Their daughters are. And I'm hoping Rue will be the founder. Or Odella's pretty cool too, but I really hope Rue is, because she's a very good sim and I really relate to her, so I'm hoping she goes on and carries on the lineage. So Ford's not going to be our name forever. I did place a lot of random sims from the gallery, especially for this challenge, so hopefully we'll find nice sims to marry. So yeah, you can all read this all to your heart's content. Like I said, I'll have it in the description. I really don't want to get way too into it, but it's just basically, you're looking for an heir. The next heir has to be the eldest son. If you don't get a son, then your eldest daughter's husband takes over. And that's basically how that goes. Because we have twins, Rue or Odella has claim to the next lineage. Rue or Odella can claim the household next. Once one of them moves out, that's what's gonna happen. Once your main heir is old enough to get married, age for marriages will change throughout and will be stated, then you will officially be able to pass along the torch and move on to the next generation. You cannot move out previous heirs. They are not allowed to leave the house. But if you want to continue trying to get more babies out of them or whatever, good on you. You can have your sims remarry. I'm not going to try for that. If it happens, it happens, whatever, but I just don't want to keep track of too many sims as it states here. But if you guys like the thought of remarriages after death, or for some reason divorce, which in the 1300s divorce was not a thing, annulments were a thing, but divorce was not a thing, and they would be cast out from the family and stuff, so be careful what you do. Illnesses and events. We will have a lot of events pop up where special rules come into play. Here is Morbid Gamer's family tree. Like I said, we have our own family tree here. It's very rough, so bear with me on that. I'm trying my bestest. But, if you want portraits for your Sims. I'm not doing portraits because I am really horrible at trying to get that done. But if you want to learn how to do it, or if I learn how to do it, I'll put it in the game. But here you can learn how to do it. She kind of goes in depth, step-by-step detail on how to, and provides you with the mods that you would need. So here are the rest of the rules. You must start as peasants. You have to start in Windberg, which is kind of like England, and that's where we are starting. We have the biggest lot in Windberg. We cannot leave that world because there was no world traveling for peasants back then. So we get the starter funds for our family to buy the lot and start our farm. I have everything already done. I'm just gonna zero out the money with the cheat. We have to go back to 0 once I get the farming stuff done. And that's basically how we're gonna go about doing that. We do have a market stall set up so that way they can start selling things. I have changed the phone in game to a medieval notebook, so it looks a little bit more realistic. It is going to be weird to watch them try to call things on their notebook, but here we are. I've added some new job types like midwife, priest, page, hunter, blacksmith. So even though they're not allowed to have jobs per se, if you can get those kind of mods in there, you want to have your sim have jobs, that's fine. But if you're a female character, they're only allowed to have the midwife job. They're not allowed to do anything else unless they're like knitting or something. Then you can sell your knitting work. I don't have eco lifestyle, so we will not be doing candles. Unfortunately, if I ever get that, that'd be awesome. But until then, I don't have candles. But we can fish, paint, word. I do have woodworking in there. Flower arrangement is a thing. I could see them doing flowers back then. It doesn't seem like a hard job. Harvesting crops, you can only do it once every season, so be careful of when you harvest your crops, because if you harvest them too early, you're kind of screwed for the rest of the season. So we can only eat foods available at the time, and if you use the Ye Olde Cookbook, it gives you those types of food, which is really cool. I actually looked a lot into that, and it has gruel porridges, pheasants, different types of breads. It's really interesting. So if you get a chance, look it up if you want some realism added to the challenge. I took out all the holidays for the seasons as of right now. I know we do have holidays, and I'll make them as they come, but like in the beginning, I don't think there was a lot to celebrate. So as the years go on, I will be looking into like what are good days, you know? Let's see. I do have the Bust the Dust kit, so they do have they don't have ways to vacuum right now because there's no electricity. But I did get the broom mod, and it is actually pretty cool. You can only have color likes and dislikes, and you can only have male heirs until stated otherwise. You must move out your female sims once they're married unless they are the overtaking heir. So these are the traits you are not allowed to have. Geek, because there is no electronics, you can't be a geek. Ambitions, because there's not a lot of career modes, so you can't have ambitious sims. Bro wasn't even a thing back then, so that's self-explanatory. We're not going to the islands, so child of the islands is not even a thing. I don't have eco lifestyle, but I think Freegan was like they could. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have that, so I'm not sure what that does. But if you know what it is, don't use it. Green Fiend. Dance Machine. Not a lot of dance places there. Recycle Disciple. We didn't do recycling back in the medieval times, so we don't get to do that now. Vegetarian. Everybody lived off of meat. There's no way anyone was vegetarian back then. Same with lactose intolerant. If you had a stomachache, you kind of sucked it up. So these are the traits you're not allowed to use for the game until, stated otherwise. Alright, and because we'll be starting in the 1300s, here is the rules for that. I will not be reading these rules, but if you'd like to see them, I do have wedding stories, and here are the holidays we're allowed to have. So I will have to like kind of put that in there a little bit at a time. I don't have any hot springs because I don't have Snowy Escapes. That's like literally the only 2 game packs I don't have, including the new one that just released yesterday. So, I do have to put the challenges on the lot as off the grid and simple living. So that needs to be in your game in the beginning. If you don't have cottage living, I would definitely recommend it because it's an amazing add-on to your Sims, but just try really hard to think outside the box on how to fix that. No electricity. There is no electricity. You can only use candles and lanterns, unless it tells you otherwise. You can have as many animals as you can afford. We are trying to make a goal to get chicken coop and a milking stall, so that way we can have more income. We have an outside toilet. So we actually, I got the, what's it called? Outhouse toilet, which is basically a chamber pot in the middle of a wooden bench. So I kind of put that away because nobody ever used a chamber pot indoors. They always kind of used it outside. So, we have the wooden bathtub, so we're good there. All of our furniture is wood. We do have some pelts as decor and some like hunting trophies as decor. And our house is made up of basically mud. So no drywall, no wallpaper, and we have a straw roof. So everything looks great, and I'll show you that when we start our series in the next video. Rugs and tapestries are allowed, but they cannot be super colorful. Remember, they didn't have a lot of dye back then, so there was no awesome colors or murals or pictures. We have wooden counters, and we have a larder for a fridge, and we also have an old tiny what was I gonna say? Stove. So we have an old-time stove. It's stone, and it works well with cooking pots and stuff like that. You can only have like landscape and classic paintings and portraits. You cannot hang kids' drawings. They have to be disposed of or sold. You are not allowed to have coffee and tea brewers, DJ equipment, earbuds, kids' tablets, thermostats, rocking chairs, mirrors, playground equipment, electronics, and anything that wasn't available in the 1300s. We do have the clothesline and the wash basement and for our Sims laundry stuff, though. We have a wicker basket because there's not a lot of medieval style baskets, so like wicker is as close as you're gonna get. Here is the pregnancy chances for the Sims in your household. Here are the rules you have to make for the Sims outside of your household. As starting, because we have we have twins. They're each going to be allowed to get married right off bat, and then we'll see what happens after that. So then you roll for if you're allowed to have baby attempts on a d12. So like if, say, Odella gets married and leaves the household, she would have 9 attempts. That's not an actual thing because we haven't started, but that's just kind of give you the gist. Here are the death rolls. So for birth, and then the babies, if they made it, infants, if they made it, blah, 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 so on, so on. There is pet aging stuff if you wanted to use it. I'm probably not going to even look at it because I don't deal with the pets very well. But here are the harvesting, which you're allowed to harvest during this time period. And you're only allowed to do it once per season. So these are the fruits and vegetables it uses for the Ye Olde Cookbook. It's really good to have a stockpile for yourself. If you don't have it, then you either get to make gruel or you're gonna have your Sims starve to death. That's basically what's gonna happen. So these are events that'll be happening, and that's going to be starting in 1315. So we're not even going to touch that right now. This was just kind of a preliminary setup, guys. There are events that happen: the Great Famine, the part 1 of the 100-year war, the Black Plague, and part 2 of the 100-year war, poll tax, and peasants' revolt. So that's kind of what we're working with, folks. We have to flip a coin for when we need it, and we have our roller, and we have our timeline stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy the series coming up. I am super excited to do this, and I really, really can't wait to start. So thank you for coming in. Hit the subscribe button and the bell, and it'll tell you when I have new content released. If you can check out Morbid Gamer on YouTube or on Twitch, that'd be awesome. My Twitch link will also be in the description if you want to check me out. I play games like Dead by Daylight, The Sims, any game I can actually, like Hogwarts Legacy I've been kind of focused on lately. But if I can afford it, I'll play it. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. But for now, that'll be it, and I'll see you in the next video. Fly high, everybody.